Did you know that more than 70% of drivers make mistakes without realizing it? And these habits could be shortening the life of their automatic car? You might be guilty of some of these too. These little things you do could be causing more damage than you think. In today's video, we'll look at 12 things you should never do in an automatic car. And make sure to stick around until the end because I've got a bonus tip that could save you thousands in repairs and help your car last longer than you ever imagined. Let's dive in. First up, don't drive with low gas. It might seem like a harmless habit, but driving with low fuel can actually be one of the worst things you can do for your automatic car. Modern cars have an electric fuel pump inside the tank which pulls fuel from the tank and sends it to the engine. The trick is, the pump relies on the fuel to keep it cool and lubricated. When you're running low, especially when your tank is below a quarter full, the pump isn't fully submerged, causing it to overheat. Overheating makes the pump wear out much quicker than it should, leading to costly repairs, sometimes reaching hundreds of dollars. On top of that, gas tanks naturally collect dirt and debris, and when you drive with low fuel, the pump starts sucking from the bottom of the tank where all that stuff settles. This can clog your fuel filter, damage the injectors, and mess with engine performance by causing improper fuel delivery. If you ignore this, it can snowball into even bigger problems with your engine and fuel system. Plus, running out of fuel completely doesn't just leave you stranded. It can mess with your car's internal systems. When the tank is empty, air gets into the fuel lines, creating pressure imbalances that make it harder for the fuel pump to work properly, even after you refill. This can lead to misfires, reduced power, and long-term damage to the fuel system. So make sure to top up your fuel before it drops below a quarter tank. Not only will you protect your car's important parts, but you'll also avoid the hassle of being stuck with an empty tank. Next, don't coast in neutral. It might seem like a good idea to save on fuel, but coasting in neutral is actually a bad habit that could cause serious damage and put your safety at risk. Modern automatic transmissions work best when the car is in gear, even when you're slowing down. Shifting to neutral while coasting can mess with the lubrication and hydraulic systems inside the transmission, which rely on the engine's power to keep everything running smoothly. Without proper lubrication, the parts inside the transmission wear out faster, leading to expensive repairs. From a safety point of view, staying in gear gives you more control over your car's movement. The engine braking system helps slow you down naturally, so you don't wear out your brakes on long downhill stretches. When you shift to neutral, you lose that engine braking, which puts more strain on your brakes and increases the risk of brake failure when you really need them. Plus, if you need to speed up quickly to avoid a hazard, switching from neutral back into drive can cause a delay, and that could make all the difference between avoiding an accident and getting into one. There's also a common myth that coasting in neutral saves fuel, but that's not true. Modern cars with fuel injection systems are designed to minimize fuel use when you lift off the gas pedal, even when the car is in gear. In neutral, the engine still needs fuel to keep idling, so you're not really saving anything. In fact, you could end up wasting more fuel than you think. Third, avoid doing launches. It might feel exciting to floor the gas pedal and accelerate quickly from a complete stop, but hard launches are one of the quickest ways to damage your car. Unlike a manual transmission where you have more direct control over the clutch and gear changes, an automatic transmission is designed for smooth transitions and efficient power delivery. Doing a launch puts a huge strain on important components like the torque converter, transmission gears, and the drivetrain. If you keep doing this, it could lead to expensive damage. When you try a hard launch in an automatic car, the torque converter has to handle a sudden surge of power from the engine. This sudden transfer of energy can cause overheating and wear out the converter much faster, which reduces its efficiency over time. The transmission fluid, which helps with cooling and lubrication, can also degrade much quicker under these conditions, leaving the internal components with less protection. This could result in slipping gears or even long-term transmission failure. Hard launches also harm your drivetrain. Parts like the drive shaft, axle, and differential aren't designed to cope with the jolt of energy from a quick launch. If you keep putting that stress on these components, you could end up with broken axles or even damage to the differential. These types of repairs can cost thousands of dollars. And don't forget about your tires. The increased wear from sudden acceleration means you'll need to replace them more often, which adds up over time. Remember, Automatic transmissions are built for reliability and longevity, but only if you treat them with care. To keep your car in good shape and avoid costly repairs, try accelerating gradually from a stop rather than flooring the gas pedal. Fourth, never drive without warming up the engine. Jumping into your car and driving off immediately, especially in cold weather, might seem convenient, but it can seriously harm your engine over time. When the engine is cold, the oil inside is thicker and hasn't yet circulated properly through all the components. This lack of lubrication increases friction, causing wear on vital engine parts like the pistons, cylinders, and valve train. For automatic transmissions, this issue is even more critical because the transmission fluid also needs to warm up to reach the right temperature. When the fluid is cold, it's thicker and doesn't flow as smoothly, making it harder for the system to shift gears properly. This can cause rough shifts, delayed acceleration, and even long-term damage to the transmission's internal components. Over time, the added stress can break down the transmission fluid faster, shortening the lifespan of your transmission. Cold starts also affect fuel efficiency and emissions. Modern engines use a richer air-fuel mixture when they're cold to make up for lower combustion efficiency. If you drive off immediately, your engine works harder while still in this inefficient state, wasting fuel and increasing wear on parts. Pushing the engine hard while it's cold can even cause overheating and damage, especially to delicate parts like the head gasket. To avoid these problems, always let your engine warm up for a little while after starting, especially in cold weather. You don't need to wait too long. About 30 seconds to a minute is enough for most modern cars. Fifth, don't leave the car in drive mode while sitting. It might seem like no big deal to leave your car in drive while you're sitting in it with the engine running, especially if you're just waiting for a short time. But this habit can actually harm your automatic transmission and pose safety risks. When the car is in drive, the transmission remains engaged, and the engine continues to send power to the wheels, even if you're pressing the brake. This puts unnecessary strain on both the transmission and the brake system. The transmission in drive mode is designed to move the car, not hold it stationary for long periods. Keeping it in drive while idling can cause the transmission fluid to overheat, especially if you do it regularly. Overheated transmission fluid loses its ability to cool and lubricate the internal components properly, which can lead to premature wear and expensive repairs, or even transmission failure down the line. Your brake system suffers too. Keeping the car in drive means the brakes are constantly under pressure to prevent the car from moving. This increases brake pad wear and generates heat, which can reduce their efficiency. Over time, this can lead to more frequent brake repairs, especially in stop-and-go traffic or long waits at traffic lights. Another issue is safety. If your foot slips off the brake, even for a moment, the car could lurch forward, which could put pedestrians, other vehicles, or yourself at risk. This is even more dangerous in areas with heavy foot traffic or when your car is close to others. To avoid these problems, always shift your car into park or neutral with the parking brake on if you plan to stay stationary for more than just a few seconds. Sixth, don't rest your hand on the gear stick. The gear stick in an automatic transmission is there to select different driving modes, but its internal mechanism is connected to the shift linkage, which engages specific gears in the transmission. If you apply constant pressure to the gear stick, even just lightly, you're putting unnecessary strain on these delicate components, which can cause misalignments or premature wear. One of the biggest risks is damaging the shift linkage or the transmission's control mechanisms. Even though the gear stick may seem sturdy, it's not designed to bear weight or endure constant pressure. Over time, this can lead to slack or looseness in the shift linkage, making it harder to shift gears or causing improper gear engagement. In the worst-case scenario, it could result in expensive repairs to the transmission's internal components. Resting your hand on the gear stick can also encourage poor driving posture, which can reduce your reaction time in emergencies. Both hands should ideally be on the steering wheel for optimal control and quick maneuvers. Keeping your hand on the gear stick compromises your ability to respond swiftly to potential hazards. To avoid these problems, only touch the gear stick when you need to change gears or modes. After you've shifted into drive, keep your hand on the steering wheel or in your lap, rather than resting it on the gear stick. 7. Don't shift modes while the car is moving. Automatic transmissions are designed to engage specific gears depending on your selected mode, and shifting modes while the vehicle is moving causes a sudden mismatch between the car's speed and the internal gear engagement. This creates a jarring mechanical shock that puts excessive strain on the entire transmission system. One of the most vulnerable components in this situation is the transmission's clutch packs or bands, which are responsible for engaging and disengaging gears. When you shift modes while the car is moving, these parts are forced to operate under extreme pressure, leading to faster wear or even complete failure in some cases. The transmission fluid, which is essential for smooth gear changes and proper cooling, also can't circulate properly under these abrupt conditions. This can lead to overheating, reduced lubrication, and long-term damage to the internal components. Another critical issue is the potential damage to the parking pal, a small but vital component that locks the transmission when the car is in park. If you try to shift into park while the car is still moving, the parking pal can break or become misaligned, leaving your car unable to hold its position securely when parked. Repairs for such problems are usually expensive and inconvenient. From a safety perspective, sudden mode changes can also compromise your vehicle control. For example, shifting into reverse while driving forward can cause the wheels to lock momentarily, resulting in skidding or loss of control. This doesn't only put you at risk, but also other drivers on the road. Always make sure the car is fully stopped before changing gears to avoid these issues and ensure the safety of everyone on the road. 8th, don't switch to park while the car is moving. When your car is in park, a small metal component called the parking pal engages to lock the transmission, preventing the wheels from turning. This mechanism is designed to keep the car stationary, not to stop it while it's moving. If you try to switch to park while the car is still in motion, the parking pal is forced to engage against the rotating components of the transmission, putting severe stress on it. This can cause the pal to break or become damaged. If the parking pal breaks, it can no longer lock the transmission properly, which means your car could roll unexpectedly even when parked. Repairing or replacing the parking pal is not only costly, but also time-consuming. Worse yet, attempting this can damage other parts of the transmission, like the gear teeth or the shift linkage, which will only increase the repair costs. From a safety perspective, trying to switch to park while moving can cause your wheels to lock suddenly, leading to skidding or loss of control. This dramatically increases the risk of an accident, particularly in areas with heavy traffic or on slippery roads. Always come to a full stop before shifting into park to avoid damaging your car and, more importantly, to keep yourself and others safe. 9th, don't skip using the emergency brake. It might seem like a minor thing to skip using the emergency brake, especially if your car is parked on a flat surface, but ignoring it can lead to long-term damage to your automatic transmission and put your safety at risk. The emergency brake isn't just for emergencies. It's designed to take the pressure off your transmission when the car is parked. When you put your car in park, a small metal component called the parking pal engages to lock the transmission and stop the wheels from moving. But if you don't use the emergency brake, all the weight of the car is resting entirely on this little piece of metal. Over time, this constant pressure can weaken or break the parking pal, particularly if your car is parked on an incline. A broken pal could cause your car to roll unexpectedly, creating a dangerous situation. Relying only on the park gear also increases the wear and tear on your transmission. The strain on the transmission is greatly reduced when you engage the emergency brake, because it helps keep the car in place mechanically, rather than depending entirely on the transmission. From a safety perspective, the emergency brake is an extra layer of protection. If the parking pal fails or if the car is jostled while parked, the emergency brake helps ensure the vehicle stays securely in place. This is especially important when your car is parked on steep slopes or uneven surfaces, where the risk of rolling is much higher. 10th, don't leave your car in neutral in traffic. Leaving your car in neutral while stopped in traffic might seem like a way to reduce strain on your vehicle, but it's a dangerous habit that can cause mechanical problems and put you at risk. Unlike drive, where the transmission remains engaged and ready to move, neutral disconnects the engine's power from the wheels. While this might sound like it's giving your car a break, it can actually cause more harm than good in several ways. One of the biggest risks of leaving your car in neutral is losing control. When your car is in neutral, you won't be able to accelerate quickly if you need to get out of the way of a hazard, such as another vehicle suddenly swerving toward you. This delay in your response time can increase the likelihood of accidents, particularly in heavy traffic or emergency situations. Additionally, leaving your car in neutral forces your brakes to work harder. In drive, the engine provides a small amount of resistance, called engine braking, that helps hold the car stationary. In neutral, that resistance is gone, so your brakes have to work overtime to prevent the car from rolling, especially on inclines. Over time, this added strain can cause your brake pads to wear out prematurely and reduce their braking efficiency. From a mechanical standpoint, frequently shifting into neutral and back to drive in stop-and-go traffic can wear out the shift linkage and other transmission components. Automatic transmissions are designed to operate smoothly in drive, so constantly switching gears disrupts the fluid flow, which can lead to overheating or premature wear. For your car's health and your safety, it's best to keep your vehicle in drive while stopped in traffic and simply hold the brake. 11th, never let water get into your transmission. Allowing water to enter your car's transmission is one of the most damaging mistakes you can make, and it can result in catastrophic failure. The transmission is a sealed system that relies on fluid for lubrication, cooling, and efficient operation. When water gets into the transmission, it contaminates the fluid, creating a mixture that can no longer properly lubricate or cool the internal components. This can cause significant damage to gears, clutches, and other critical parts. One common way water enters the transmission is during floods or when driving through deep water. Modern cars have vents or seals in their transmission systems that keep debris out while allowing for thermal expansion under normal conditions. However, when the car is submerged in water, these vents can allow water to seep into the system, especially if the car remains in standing water for an extended period. The immediate effect of water in the transmission is contamination of the fluid. Water causes the fluid to lose its viscosity and cooling properties, leading to overheating and increased friction within the transmission. Over time, this can result in burnt clutches, damaged valve bodies, and a completely ruined transmission, leading to repairs that can cost thousands of dollars. Additionally, water causes corrosion in the internal components, such as gears and bearings, which are typically made of metal. When water mixes with the fluid, it creates a corrosive environment that accelerates rust and degradation, weakening the transmission further and shortening its lifespan. To avoid these costly issues, never drive through water deep enough to submerge either the transmission or the engine bay. If you suspect that water has entered the transmission, have the vehicle inspected immediately by a qualified mechanic. 12th, avoid using 2 feet while driving. Unlike manual cars, automatic transmissions are designed to operate with 1 foot controlling both the gas and brake pedals. Using 2 feet creates unnecessary risks both for you and for the car's mechanics. One of the main dangers is unintentional braking while accelerating. Even slight pressure on the brake pedal while your other foot presses the gas pedal can confuse the car's systems, particularly in modern vehicles with advanced sensors. This can lead to erratic gear shifts, overheating of the brakes, and unnecessary wear on the transmission as it struggles to interpret conflicting signals. Pressing the brake pedal while accelerating can also cause the brakes to overheat, reducing braking efficiency and potentially causing brake failure in critical moments. Another issue is the risk of delayed reaction times. When you use 2 feet, your brain might signal both feet to act simultaneously in an emergency situation, which increases the likelihood of an accident instead of avoiding one. Using 1 foot on the pedals ensures more precise and controlled inputs, improving safety on the road. From a mechanical perspective, resting your foot on the brake pedal while driving can cause excessive brake wear. This habit not only shortens the lifespan of your brake pads, but also risks damaging the brake rotors and calipers, which leads to costly repairs. To ensure safe and efficient driving in an automatic car, always use your right foot for both the gas and brake pedals. This standard practice not only helps prevent mechanical issues, but also ensures better control and quicker response times in emergencies. Bonus tip: avoid overfilling your gas tank. Overfilling your gas tank can cause excess fuel to overflow into the evaporative emission system, which is designed to manage fuel vapors, not liquid gasoline. This can damage the charcoal canister and other components of the EVAP system, creating issues that might seem unrelated, but can indirectly affect your transmission's performance. The EVAP system works with your car's engine management system to maintain efficiency and proper fuel-air ratios. A damaged EVAP system can cause erratic engine behavior, putting unnecessary stress on the transmission as it compensates for fluctuating power output. Over time, this added strain can contribute to premature wear on the transmission. Moreover, overfilling your gas tank wastes fuel. The excess gasoline has nowhere to go, leading to evaporation or spills, which are bad for both your wallet and the environment. To avoid these issues, stop pumping gas as soon as the nozzle clicks off. Letting it go just a little more isn't worth the potential damage and long-term costs to your car.